The person that was more surprising, not because I expected bad things, because I'd only heard good things, was Mark Hamill. Um, Quiet, really nice, professional as hell, funny as hell. Um, like I was thinking, oh my God, this guy's been a global star since I was a child. Like he can't go anywhere. He's Mark freaking Hamill. Like, that's Luke Skywalker. And I'm sure he gets that a lot. But um, he's also my Joker.
Yes, he's my Joker.
Right. He's the only Joker as far as I'm concerned. So I love you, Heath. Sorry about it. It's all about Hamill's Joker.
Also, Fire Lord Ozai from Avatar.
Yes, God bless you, Avatar. So yeah, that's again a whole other podcast. Is my love for Avatar, but oh my God, my love for Avatar.
I love Avatar so much.
I love Avatar so much. I can't even tell you how much.
Moving on to something else you're doing for DC, you're doing a Vixen story for the new anthology, Truth and Justice.
Yeah, man.
How's that going? And will she date Jon Stewart as a fan of the Justice League cartoon?
Well, people keep asking me that, and it's very funny because I honestly forgot that was even a possibility. The truth is, what we're going to put Jon through, it would be very, very difficult for Vixen to be dating. I don't know how long any woman would put up with that. But I mean, no, they're not going to be dating. Yeah, the way that came about was really weird. Well, there's a thing about Twitter, right? It giveth and it taketh away. So we have the whole thing with Bleeding Cool and the Twitter rage against Hal Jordan, whatever. And but we also have, as you pointed out, occasionally I will just make up weird superhero stories. I don't know why I do it. It's just the way my brain works. I wasn't particularly a deep fan of Vixen. I like Vixen. She's fun. But I hadn't really, I had no big giant like, oh my God, if only I could ever write Vixen. It wasn't like that. But one morning I'd woken up that morning. I was like, wait a minute. If her powers work like this, then, and I know this happened in this miniseries and this happened back in Justice League Detroit. Well, why isn't this true then? Right? Why hasn't anyone said this is true? Right? So all I wrote on Twitter was, I just came up with this really cool idea for Vixen. That's all I wrote. Chris Cross, who follows my feed, was like, wait, really? And I was like,
and is a great artist.
Yeah. Chris is amazing. He's amazing. He's like, I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm going to tell my editor. And I'm like, but why would you tell him? I haven't even told you what the idea was. It's like, too late. I already told them they're going to get in touch with you tomorrow. I was like, wait, what? Now, by the way, this sounds like me and Chris are old friends. We're not. I've never met Chris. I've had some very nice conversations with him, mostly on Twitter. And that's pretty much it. So I was like, what the hell is happening? And then an editor emails me directly, like, hey, Geoff, so Chris Cross tells us that you have this idea for Vixen. And I was like, I don't know what he could have told you because I didn't tell him what the idea was. Right? And it's only two sentences right now. Like it's not like it's a pitch. Like I didn't send Chris to you to make you do this. It's like, I have no idea why this is even happening right now. Right? And he said, well, let me hear the 2 sentences. And I said, well, what I just said to you, if these things are true, why is this not true? And he's like, no reason. You want to write a book about it? And I was like, a whole book? He's like, well, a one shot. Like, don't go crazy. And I was like, sure, I could do a one shot based on this. Sure. Will Chris be drawing? He's like, he really wants to. And I was like, well, again, if someone says you get to work with Chris Cross on a project and he's excited about it, you say yes. Like, you have to say yes. It's not like I don't have a lot of other work to do, by the way. Like, a lot of other work to do. I'm a co-executive producer on a freaking TV show right now. I have a lot of work to do, right? And but the opportunity to work with this guy, the same as with Tom, you can't pass that up. You just can't pass that up. So Yeah, it's coming out. I didn't think Truth and Justice even had a title at that point. I didn't know it was going to be digital first. I didn't know anything.
They're using it to launch it.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, like, oh my God, no pressure at all. They told me that in the middle of writing the damn thing. And I'm like, what? Like, are you people kidding me? Right? I was just going to be a fun little story. All right, fine, whatever. But Chris, by the way, is drawing his butt off. The colorist is great. It's going to be fun. It's such a different flavor than the John Stewart book too. John's book is very, you said dark, but it isn't. It's just very gritty and very, it's a different kind of thing because it's people being stripped of something that they're used to having to deal with adversity. So by definition, it's a different kind of adventure. But the Vixen story, even though a lot of stuff happens in it, it's much lighter. It's much more fun. She's a much more playful type character than John is. John's character is much more sort of, and Vixen is always. I always picture Vixen with a smile on her face. Like I think she's one of those superheroes that like enjoys it. Like she doesn't just do it because it's the right thing to do, right? She's like, wait, I have these powers? Cool, right? So I picture her like that. And Chris is just having a ball drawing her. He did this redesign for the costume, and I was like, let me put it like this. At the point where we started it, I was like, this will be a fun one-off to do, and I get to sort of do the checkbox of, oh, I got to work with Chris Cross. Now I'm like, hey guys, if you guys want to do it ongoing, I will be happy to write that ongoing for you, right? So I hope people like it because it'll be more of a sleeper. Fewer people are talking about it because the Green Lantern stuff is obviously a much bigger deal right now. But I hope a lot of people buy that because I really want to write the Vixen story that like now I've laid the groundwork for. I would love to be able to play that out, and I would love to be able to keep Chris around to do that because he's just killing it. And it would be fun. But it will also be a fun book, old school fun type adventure, questy, great destiny type stuff. And you get to see a corner of the DCU that I like the corners that people don't shine light on all the time, not just because they give me freedom as a writer, but because I always wonder, like when I've played, I'm not a big gamer because I'm not a big shoot people in the face type of person. I don't like, well, a lot of games are that essentially. Yeah. And I'm just like, what's the story? Right. So what is it called? Uncharted. I like Uncharted.
Uncharted.
Like those kind of games I like because it's more adventure-y and less shoot them in the face. Right. Whereas Grand Theft Auto is mostly shoot them in the face. So
steal a car, shoot people in the face.
Right. Knock over hookers and take their money. Like, no. But what it did give you the fun of doing was if you didn't want to do any of that, you could just get in that taxi and drive around the city and listen to the radio station.
Yes.
That's what I do. That's what I do when I play Grand Theft Auto. I just drive around and listen to the radio, right? Because I want to see how deep, right, the designers went to make the game. Like how much of this city exists. Where is it? Where will I hit an invisible wall, right? And I'll just do that. That's the way I feel about comics. So, for instance, we're going to use the Global Guardians in the Vixen book. A group of people. Every time I say Global Guardians, people are, oh, Global Guardians. I'm like, really? They don't have a book, so you don't love them that freaking much, do you? Right? But what is interesting about them is the same thing. They're largely undefined, but they have this really great base concept, right? They're the UN version of the Justice League, right? Prior to Stormwatch, right?
They're like those Super Friends characters, only like done with actual characters.
Exactly. So I was like, hey guys, can I use the Global Guardians? And they're like, well, first of all, for what? And I was like, no, I'm not going to kill anybody.
I would have thought the answer would have been, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. So what you're going to see is a couple of the members of the Dr. Mist has been announced, and Impala has been announced. A couple of members of the Global Guardians are going to be in there. I'm going to try to make them significant rather than just like, oh, we need a super team for the Justice League to beat up sometimes. Like, I want to make them something. And also because DC also owns all the Wildstorm characters, they cannot be Stormwatch, which has its own United Nations agenda. So what are the Global Guardians even for? This will tell you. Like literally, it will say out loud in the story what they're for. So, so that's fun, and it's coming out starting either next week or the week after, digital first, once a week, which is crazy to me. But and then they'll drop it as a physical copy in the first part of February. So if you don't want to go digital on Comixology or whatever, you can buy the whole thing in a month.
Yeah, I think small doses is the way to go with digital, just because of the way it's consumed.
Yeah, and doing it in 10-page increments is really interesting from a writing point of view, because I have to pace it slightly differently than I would if I knew I had the whole 30 pages, because there basically has to be a cliffhanger on page 10 to make you want to come back. So it's a little bit interesting from that point of view, but it was just fun. And seeing the art come through. Yeah. And seeing the art come through is just, you can't beat that feeling. It's then when the letters come through on top of it, you're just like, wow, it's a comic book. It's so cool. Like, it's just cool, man. Yeah, so it's fun. I mean, I didn't have any, and I don't think DC really did either. I didn't have any big, like, I'm going to go to DC. It wasn't like that. It was just, I had a weird door open with Dan. I say Dan like we're old friends. I met the guy one time and had 3 phone calls with him. But he's the one who invited me in to pitch. And I was like, again, you don't say no.
Yeah.
Like, you got to say yes. I pitched him a bunch of stuff. You should hear my Blackhawk pitch. If people are freaking out now.
You have a Blackhawk pitch?
Dude, I have a pitch for Blackhawk that was so off the rails you don't even know. I'm not telling you what it is because
because you might use it.
Well, I have a hope that somebody will go, wait, what's this Blackhawk pitch? And do it. But it was also based on stuff that isn't happening in the DCU anymore, so I don't know how much it had to do with Leviathan and a whole bunch of other stuff that is, I don't think, really happening anymore, or concluded at any rate. But yeah, I had a Blackhawk pitch. I had what else did I have? I did have a Catwoman, sort of. I actually did a cover for it on my DeviantArt page, but I always thought Cassandra Cain had been mishandled since she stopped being Batgirl. But it has personally offended me that they stopped letting her be Batgirl and gave it to Stephanie, and ultimately they got rid of Oracle to have Barbara be Batgirl.
Yeah, back to Barbara.
As much as I like the actual work that the creators did with it, that was an editorial decision, and I don't like it. I think Oracle was a much more interesting character than Barbara Gordon as Batgirl. Right, goes back to Moore's law. Right, that happened. Got to live with it. Sorry, you all did it. Now you got to live with it. You can't erase that. Right, not without rebooting the whole universe. Like, in order to get her out of the chair, you have to have another crisis to erase these effects. But I thought, well, you'll like this. I don't know why I'm pointing at you, like you can see that I'm pointing. But speaking of making up wacky stuff, so Cassandra bugged me all this time, but I was like, all right, well, how have they treated her? And then they gave her the name Orphan.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, she's not an orphan. She is badass. Go read those original, now they're trade paperbacks. Just go read the Batgirl trades and tell me she was not like the Batgirl. Like, holy crap. But all this stuff has happened to her, but it all happened in the comics. So she's been sort of taken out of that role. She doesn't really have, her mom is Lady Shiva, which alone that's a story all alone, right? She's at sea, which is where I think the name Orphan came from. Where did she really go? Right. So I was like, well, in the Bat family, which character is sort of a loner and isn't really as happy with Batman all the time as they could be, and kind of lives outside his structure of rules? Catwoman. Right? And I thought, what if Cassandra Cain hooked up with Catwoman the way the various Robins have hooked up with Batman?
Oh.
Right? And now we have Catgirl. Cassandra Cain is Catgirl.
That makes sense. I
would have loved to write that book.
It's logical.
But we're going another direction, so not going to happen.
That's interesting because virtually all of those that you've mentioned, you've basically found a plot hole that, I think that's the difference between armchair fans and writers, is that fans will
Maybe.
be like, oh, plot hole. But
Right.
yeah,
Right. But also it's an opportunity, right?
and
It's like, oh,
you guys will fix that plot hole.
yeah, let's take that and make something of it. What Stan Lee used to call them no prizes,
Yeah.
right? It's not just pointing out the problem, it's what's the fix. And if you come up with a really good fix, you get a no prize. I was always wanted a no prize. Now Stan can't give them out, right? There's no Stan to give them out. So that's a dream. I never got to meet Jack Kirby, and I'll never get a no prize from Stan Lee. So that, if anyone's mad at me, understand that these are crushing in my soul every day. Yeah, but yeah, I that's kind of what I like to do. I like to look at characters that have been put down. And I like, why did you put that character down? It's really interesting. Or they did something with it that I sort of minorly disagree with. But like, all right, well, I don't like it, but that's what they did. If they put me on the book tomorrow morning, what would I do? Right? Because I don't like that, but I would have to use it in some way. So what would be that way? It's a good mental exercise for writers in general. Because especially if you're writing fiction that you're not making up everything, where you're coming into somebody else's toy box, you kind of have to deal the cards that they give you. So figure out, can you even do that? And I feel like it's always not very nice. It's always a comment on the previous writer if you come in and just immediately sweep away everything they did, right? It's basically saying either editorial said, we want you to sweep everything away. It could not be your fault. That's true. But usually it's, I want to do this, but the book won't let me. Don't worry about it. Kill everybody. It's like, oh, okay. I really hadn't planned to do that. No, kill them all. Do your thing. Like, oh shit. All right, fine. So,
it's okay.
It's okay. All right.
It's fine.
Yeah. I just, the holes are there. I've been reading comics for so long,
Holes are inevitable for
human beings make mistakes
for that long.
Yeah. And also it's comic books aren't really stories. You're always in the middle of the story. Whenever you enter a comic book story, you're in the middle by definition. They don't come to an end and they don't really have a beginning. Right? You don't start Superman with the death of Krypton. You start Superman with issue whatever you picked up.
Yeah.
Right. And then you don't go, oh, I love this. Let me quickly go back and read from the beginning. Nobody does that. Right. And you know anyone who's like, oh, I really love Batman. Let me quickly go get Detective Comics, whatever it was, and then I'll start from there and I'll catch up with what I just read so I'll know what's going on. Nobody does that. Right.
You'll stop being a Batman fan before long. And
you will hate Batman, but don't do that. But because of that, it has the illusion of being a story when it isn't. So you're constrained on one sense, but on another level, you're given this sort of weird freedom because nothing you do unless you're extremely lucky, right? Wolverine is luck. Wolverine's luck. The guy who created him as a one-off throwaway character in the Hulk, ends up writing the X-Men. It's like, I really like that character. He's going to be in the X-Men, right? And he took off eventually, right? But
after multiple tries and
push. And multiple writers and a very serious push that made my beautiful Scott Summers a punk. They punked out Cyclops to make Wolverine look better. Never allowed. That's why I hate Logan to this day.
To the point of no return, too. Cyclops is
God. Just... Oh my, please let me have Cyclops for just a year. Just Cyclops and Geoff. I will make him clean again. I will clean him. I am the shower that Scott Summers needs to go through. I will steam clean Scott Summers, please. But yeah, that was a fluke. Certainly nobody's plan, right? Deadpool. Really? Deadpool was the breakout? You knew that at the beginning? No, you didn't. There's no way. It's a fluke.
Harley Quinn.
A fluke. And by the way, born on TV, not even a comic book character, right? So who knew? And by the way, this version of Harley is not original Harley.
Yeah.
Right? She's mutated slowly into the version that everyone's in love with right now. So again, these things you can't intentionally do that. All you can do is try to tell the best story you can tell. And if one or two of those elements stick around, then you won. essentially. And if none of them do, then you hope people just enjoyed the story for what it is, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm in marketing, and I was like, I was looking at Miles Morales and Kamala Khan, and I thought like, well, these two are getting pushes, and deservedly so. They're moving books and everything.
Right.
But I feel like 10 years ago, Jaime Reyes, the Blue Beetle, was getting a similar push. Where'd he go?
Yeah, I still ask that question. And by the way, a friend of mine is a co-creator of that character. And I'm like, this was such an interesting spin on the Blue Beetle. And what a great character. And it was really fun. They used him multiple times in Young Justice. He was like a main thing in the show. So he's got fans out there.
And Brave and the Bold.
He Brave and the Bold. And I live in LA. He used to be, you don't live in LA, I'm presuming. It's daytime, right?
No, I live in the Philippines.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, in LA at Warner's, there's this huge, like entire side of one of the buildings was DC Comics characters. Who's on that building? Jaime Reyes is one of the characters that's painted on that building. I'm like, where is my book? Where is my show? Where is my movie? Like, I guarantee you the same thing happened with Black Panther. If you make a Jaime Reyes show, the same thing will happen. I promise. It doesn't even have to be good. All it has to do is not suck. Yeah. Right? Literally, all it has to do is not suck. That's how hungry the audience is. Right? So if it's good on top of not sucking, if it's actually really good, it'll be a gigantic billion-dollar hit. It just will, because it's an unserved market. Right? It's a market that's not really getting served. Serve them, make money. It's not a hard equation.
I mean, representation, right? It's important. Yeah. I'll tell you a story. I told you I'm in the Philippines. Agents of Atlas #2, the first appearance of Wave, I'm pretty sure made zero buzz in America.
None. Nah.
But lines upon lines here.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. I'm in it now. I'm in the game now, is what that says. And I think the argument is often, well, these are political, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yo, it's not politics. There's a political component. Certainly, we can have an argument about it.
There's a political component to everything.
It's money. There's an audience that's not being served. They're perfectly happy to buy Batman's Adventures, but it would be nice to have Wave, too. It would be nice to have Silk. It would be nice to have Miles. It would be nice to have a bunch of people. And by the way, Asian Americans, the least represented after Blacks and Latins first in this context. And when they are represented, what are they doing? Kung Fu, right? Or they're tech heads, right? Or they're tech heads. That's the region that they have gotten mostly delegated to. So if I do a hero that's neither of those things, but is just badass at whatever, right?
It's nice when it's not a stereotype. Yeah.
Oh my God! All those people. It's not that they're grateful. They're just they get to exhale, right? They get to just relax and go to the movies. You know.
Yeah.
I don't know why this is hard for people. It's like I don't know why anyone would begrudge them that. Like,
I remember
it's bizarre.
In the mid 2000s, Marvel had they created a super team for the Philippines. I'm not gonna say who did it because I'm about to bash it.
Okay.
But in my mind, I was like, I'm very torn between wanting to bash this because it's just, for me, it was the most wrongly type of research thing that you could put in the Philippines. But on the other hand, it's this or nothing.
It should never be that equation. It should never be that equation. It should literally never be that equation.
Right?
There's no reason for it. There never used to be, but I would say the argument in the old days was, well, racism, right? Mm-hmm. Racist society, what are they going to do? You can't expect more of them. They're a bunch of racists, right? But theoretically, that's not true anymore. So there shouldn't be that. When I do a story where there's this Filipino super team, frankly, I should just make some phone calls if I don't know something. Oh, here's a good example of this. I live in LA. I've lived in LA for quite a while, many decades. But Mosaic was set largely in Manhattan. Spanish, spoken by Angelenos, is a completely different version of Spanish than Puerto Ricans, who dominate in in New York. Well, I have Puerto Rican characters in my in my first story for Mosaic, and they were regular, not superhero people. They weren't speaking any technical lingo. They were just regular kids who grew up in the streets of New York City. So I'm halfway through the script. I'm actually not even halfway. I'm doing the editing on the script where the art's done, the balloons are in, everything's in, and I notice that Kari Randolph's partner Amelia Lopez is a New Yorker, so the odds are high he's Puerto Rican. It's not invariable, but the odds are very high that he is. So I asked him, "Are you Puerto Rican American?" He's like, "Yes, I am." I was like, "Huh, okay. I'm in LA. LA Spanish is different than New York Spanish. Can you check my language for the slang that these kids are using? I wrote this." He's like, "Haha, no. They would not say it like that." And I was, and that little bit of questioning changed the dialogue from just some random dude who looked up a Google Spanish Spanish translation, to a kid in New York reading this comic is going to recognize him or herself, right? Now, I'm not certain that those questions were ever asked prior to guys like me being allowed to be in the writing chair, right? I'm not faulting those people, because who were they going to ask? The other guy is also a white dude.
And it may never even occurred to them.
Never occurred to him. Another middle-class white dude, probably went to the same college or a similar college, probably from an almost identical background, right? Even if you asked him, what's he going to say? How could he answer the question, right? So we can write off up to a certain date that they didn't know. After that date, it starts to look willful, right? It starts to be, we're keeping them out. I remember I was so mad. There was a character, and I don't know who made him up. God bless you. I'm so sorry if this is someone that I know. There was a character, I think he was Cuban, and he was called Gamecock in it was like Cuban or Haitian, like literally. And his superpower, wasn't exactly sure what it was, except he was small and he could fight. And I was like, really though? Did it really? Gamecock? Is that? No one caught this. No one thought maybe some other name. I don't know. Look up the region and see if there's a local legend, like anything, right? Nothing. But why would they think to? Who would they think they would even offend? Like, we're just invisible. All of us are just invisible up to a point where we couldn't be invisible. So,
And speaking of visibility, you are also working on almost definitely the most visible Black superhero on the planet.
Yeah, one shot. That's all.
I'm not sure if it's him or Miles. I think it's still him.
It's probably still him. I don't think that movie
right?
made as much money, so I'm gonna go with Black Panther. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of video games, I think.
Oh, that's
in terms
true.
Of Miles.
Apparently, the Avengers video games keep falling down. I don't know. I don't play them, but
I finished it and traded it in.
Oh dear God, that's not what a lady likes to hear.
No.
But
Miles' video game is incredible. It's
that's also what I hear. People have gone crazy about it. I mean, but yeah, I'm working on that. The King in Black thing, I basically had asked them very, very pointedly. I wouldn't call it begging, but I asked them. I said, "Look, I ran the Black Panther cartoon. I did a couple of weird little sort of media tie-in things for you guys. I would love to take over the book after Ta-Nehisi Coates leaves. I would love to get my hands on that character officially, right?" And I didn't hear anything back for a long time, so I assumed that was the answer. Right? We're not calling you back, so that's your no. But it turns out, I don't know that they even saw the email. I don't know what was going on there, because I got an email out of the blue saying, "Hey, how would you like to write King in Black one-shot featuring the Black Panther?" And I was like, what the hell is the King in Black? Like, literally, I was like, I have no idea what that is. So they're like, "Well, are you interested provisionally?" And I was like, hell yeah, of course, yeah. So they sent me all the King in Black stuff before anyone, before there was an announcement or whatever, including a non-disclosure agreement about King in Black. Don't tell anyone, right? So Marvel's like working for the CIA, man. God. Oh my God. But so I read what it was, and I was like, I had said, okay, it looks like I could come up with something for this. Tie-ins are hard for these big sort of crossover events because I really have to know exactly. Like, I don't know what the other writers are like, but for me, I need to know the entire story. I need to know where everybody is supposed to be and why, because I may want to use a character and you go, oh, no, they got killed by Null already, or something like that, right? So like they gave me the whole thing. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. All right. I have another question. If the Black Panther is here and the Black Panther's wife is here and Wakanda is over here, how would you like me to solve this conundrum? Right. And they were like, you do your thing, man. And I was like, oh, okay. So I solved it. And what we have is essentially a discrete movie set in the period of time where Null has taken over the Earth. It does not relate to any of the other plot strings that might have been going on in the Black Panther book. You don't need to know anything except the world has been taken over by Null. And even that you don't need to know because it's been explained, it gets explained within the book. So you could literally just pick the book up not knowing anything. And by the middle of the book, you're up to speed, right? Because the guys in Wakanda have no idea what just happened. They're just like, what is all this? Right? And then he shows up and goes, okay, here's what's going on. Here's what we're going to do about it. So it's fun. It's great fun. The art is freaking amazing. And I just saw the final inked work came through just before Christmas. And now I'm waiting to see the colors and the letters. Actually, I have to do a pass to tweak the dialogue to make it match exactly. But that's going to be wow, epic. Not for my writing, the art. I'm just like, holy crap! Like German Peralta.
German Peralta,
yeah. He his roughs, the roughs that he sent through, like, you know, they do the thumbnail sketches or whatever. His thumbnails, you could have printed those. Like, his thumbnail sketches were good enough to go, here's a book, go. I was like, why? What else is he gonna do? Like, what more can he do?
He's gonna make this
color.
better.
Yeah, they were full color, huge. Like, now his final art is much more realistic. Like, it's much more like you can see what else he was going to do. But if you didn't know that there was more to come, you'd been like, I am satisfied. Let's go. So it's going to be a very good book for him, I think. People are going to really take note of it. His work is just stellar. And it looks like he may be coloring it himself, because I can't imagine looking at these inks, him handing it off to anyone. So I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
No one else is credited. It's probably just him.
Yeah, he's definitely, it's amazing. It's truly amazing. And not because I wrote it. It would be amazing regardless of, like, it's him. It's all him. And I'm doing this thing in another King in Black tie-in, in Planet of the Symbiotes 2.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what Marvel's announced about it, so I'm hesitant to say, because anything I say about that will spoil it. But there's a long-term character that they asked me. It's the same thing that I've been talking about. They asked me if I wanted to, they'd heard, because I talk about it all the time, that I like this particular character quite a bit. And they were like, we would like to do something with this character in the King in Black. And I was like, huh? Like, literally, that's a lot of my responses are, really? Like, why? Okay. I mean, this is great for me, but okay, you know. And they said, yeah, we'd like to do this with him. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. All right. And I again got paired up with another awesome artist, and it's going to be really fun. But I can't appropriately hype the book because I can't say anything about it, because it's only 10 pages, and anything I say will completely spoil what it is.
So one of those things where even if you say the character's name, we could probably be like,
no, can't even say that. That's what's so irritating. And like, if you're a long-term Geoff Thorne fan, you've already got an idea of who this character is. But I love this character deeply, and I was very pleased that they were letting me play with this character at all. See, I'm not even going to give the
See,
gender.
you said that. You said that, and then I thought Oracle. Wait, no, that's DC.
Nope. Ironically, I don't know that I could write Barbara effectively. I think I like her too much. I can't write Captain America for the same reason. He's actually my favorite Marvel character, and I don't think I could write him because I actually like him too much. I don't think I could. I think you have to have enough distance to be able to smack your characters. You have to be able to hurt your characters.
He's
frankly.
been through so much in the last 20 years. Like
Yeah.
he's died
Well, no.
like 8 times.
You have to. Well, for me, you have to be able to emotionally hurt your characters, and I can't do that to Cap. I can't be that guy at Captain America. I'm perfectly happy for others to take that role. But yeah, so it's a long-term favorite of mine, and they editorial wanted to do something with it that I was like, that is a very interesting choice. I would have never thought of that in a million years for this character, and I'm flattered that you asked me to be the guy to do it. So I'm not going to take credit for this little spin that we're going to take folks on, but the way it's getting spun is me. So that's fun. So yeah, all this stuff's coming out in January and February. So
Awesome.
All Geoff all the time, starting on the 12th, I guess. It's so weird.
I'm moving down to my last few questions. What is it like?
Okay.
What's it like adding to the mythos of Black Panther? Like, given that he really broke out, like out of the entire Marvel universe, I think. Like he really broke out, and then
it's weird because I have a small contingent of people that are always on me, like, when are you going to write the book? And I'm like, that's not up to me. That's up to Marvel.
You wrote an animated series.
Right. And I loved it. And I took it very seriously, and we had a really good time. And my team, the team was so great. I got people from basically all parts of entertainment, live action writers, comic book writers, what we were talking about with women, female animation writers who would normally not even be asked to write a show like this. Very few get asked to write a show like this. The ethnic makeup was very rainbowy, shall we say. And we got to do some stuff because it was animation and the movie hadn't come out. And we, again, working for Marvel is literally like working for the CIA. So we knew nothing about the movie, even while we were making our show while the movie was being made. So we knew nothing. We asked over and over again, what if we do this? Will it mess with the movie? What about this character? You guys even using this? Like, we're not telling you anything. Do what you want, basically. If you do something we don't want you to do, we'll tell you, right? And a couple of times we wanted to do stuff. They're like, nah, too close. Nope, can't do that, right? We're like, oh, right? But it was humbling, I have to say. I know people say that a lot, but look, I got to work aside from all the amazing voice actors and the animators, all these people that were like my team. I was part of this team, of this army of people. I got to work with both Mark Hamill and Stan Lee.
Yeah. How
did I feel? You tell me.
I can't even imagine.
Right? I couldn't even talk. It was horrible. And also we got to work with Haley Atwell, which was like weird. She probably didn't even remember it, but to me, I was like, "Wah!" And Anika Noni Rose, Broadway Tony, like people who watch your podcast will probably know her as the voice of the princess in the Frog Princess from Disney.
Oh, really? Tiana.
Yeah, she was a delight. But so getting to meet some of your idols and to work on this character in that way, and people have been very pleased. Had a very pleasant response. I got to invent a character that had never been seen before, that passed Black Panther. Yamandi, the Wandering Queen. Well, I made her up. So if anyone ever uses her, she could be in the comics now if somebody wants her. I hope someone does.
And that'll be your legacy.
Yeah, and I got to modify the Princess Xanda character, who got invented by Jack Kirby as kind of a joke, and then used by Chris Priest also as a joke. And I was like, no. She is now going to be formidable. And again, mostly women, frankly, have been like, whoa, she's cool, you know. And I'm like, yeah, she needed to be. There need to be more chicks doing this. Like, she needed to be cool. Plus, he needs a rogues gallery that's not just Killmonger, right? He got to have people act like all the other heroes have like multiple people who want to kill him for different reasons. Right? Black Panther, really, everyone just wants the throne of the vibranium throne. And I'm like, no, let's give some people some other agendas. Like, he's pissed off a lot of people in his life. Let some of them be mad enough to be rogues in his rogues gallery. Yeah. So yeah, it was very heady, very strange at first. I really do stress this all the time, is that most of us who make this, I would say above 95% of the people who make comics or animation, we actually love it, right? Like, in both cases, it's extremely hard work. And in the case of comic books, the pay isn't that great. Like, you got to do a bunch of comics to make a living at it, like a bunch.
Yeah.
And there's no job security. There's no union, you know. You're not doing this because it's easy and fun. You're doing it because you love it on some basic level. So little things like getting to work with Tom Rainey and Chris Cross, or holy crap, I'm writing a Jon Stewart book, or Jesus, that's Stan Lee in the other room. He was just talking to me, you know, like,
is he like Stan Lee? Is he like the real Stan Lee, like the image of Stan Lee that is projected?
I don't know. He was in a room full of strangers. I'm sure that there's even a third different Stan Lee. He was quieter than I expected him to be, but he was also like 80-something years old. He was very nice. He was smart and wisecracky, like you expect him to be, the same sense of humor you expect him to have. He was Stan. It was Stan. Like, I couldn't stand in any other room going, that's Stan. That's Stan out there. Like, we know, Geoff, you're the boss. Can you start working, please? But it's Stan out there, you know.
How would you have reacted if Jack Kirby had been alive and in the other room?
I would have had to go home. I don't know. I'd probably still be in a coma right now. Like, Jack is the touchstone for me. Jack Kirby's the touchstone for me. Everything flows from Jack. So part of the reason I'm a writer, definitely the reason I'm an artist, and I would say upwards of 80% of the reason I love comics comes from Jack Kirby. Mm-hmm. He's the man. He's the king. He's my king. I love Jack. All things Jack.
Yeah.
So yeah, had he been in the room, I probably have gone into cardiac arrest and been unable to function. The person that was more surprising, not because I expected bad things, because I'd only heard good things, was Mark Hamill. Quiet, really nice, professional as hell, funny as hell. I was thinking, oh my God, this guy's been a global star since I was a child. Like, he can't go anywhere. He's Mark freaking Hamill. Like, you know, that's Luke Skywalker. And I'm sure he gets that a lot. But he's also my Joker.
Yes, he's my Joker.
Right? He's the only Joker as far as I'm concerned. So I love you, Heath. Sorry about it. It's all about Hamill's Joker.
Also, Fire Lord Ozai from Avatar.
Yes! God bless you. Avatar. So yeah, that's again a whole other podcast, is my love for Avatar. But oh my God, my love for Avatar.
I love Avatar so much.
I love Avatar so much. I can't even tell you how much. That's another thing though. I don't think I could write it. I love it that much. Actually, my friend Albert Kim is one of the showrunners on the live action show. And they won't tell me anything. So don't even ask me. They won't tell me anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's been through quite a bit of controversy.
They won't tell me. Literally they will not tell me anything, and it's probably good. But I was like, don't even ask me to write on it, because I'd probably say no. I like it too much. It'd be like having a fan in the room all the time, and you can't get any work done that way.
No,
you know. So, and they're like, really? But you are always. And I'm like, I know. Don't even go down that road. There's no point. I would be unable to function. Like, as soon as the first Appa showed up. The first real Appa that you could touch, that was the right size that you could. I mean, like, I'm gone. I can't. You're lucky I'm not begging you to come on the set right now. That's how bad it is. Okay, I love that show so much. Good Lord. But yeah. It's been very interesting, but we won't know what sticks in terms of the Black Panther for years. If I wrote or did anything with the show that the kids watching that show have to grow up and become creators for me to find out if any of it landed. Right? Because other adults have their own things they want to do. But that 14-year-old who grows up to be a writer or an animator, maybe this is the show that did it for him. You know, I don't know. Star Blazers was the one for me. So,
do you want to plug Winterman?
Yeah, Winterman is my own imprint. I do a bunch of free stuff. I did a thing called the Battle Books a couple years ago, which has taken a long time. I put up 3 comics digital. They're still available, but the battle's over. But if you want to buy them, I'm happy for you to do it. Where I put 3 completely different stories, and whichever one sold the most gets its own book. That was the winner of that was a character of mine called Red Jack, and its book is in the process of being made. Sometime this year, after all the DC Marvel stuff is over, I will be releasing Red Jack and 2 other titles under my own imprint. Still haven't decided if it's going to be like an image book or a print on demand or just digital. I've been interviewing a lot of people, frankly, like yourself, to find out which they prefer as buyers. Like I've basically gone all digital because it's just easier for me, but I don't know that that's what everybody does. So this time around, when the books come out, they'll be in the form that I've determined is best for the audience, basically, not what's easiest for me. Digital was easiest for me because I could do everything, but
you can carry it around too.
True, you can have your whole library in your back pocket. That's true. But yeah, so there's a Red Jack is kind of a cosmic Kirby type story. And the other 2, there's one that's an all ages book, sort of a teen, sort of X-Men-y type book. And I don't want to say the title yet. And then there's a sort of a street level sort of combination Batman, Captain America, Daredevil type book. And those 3 will drop after all the DC and Marvel stuff is just done, except Green Lantern, because obviously that's going to keep going. But all the big sort of at the beginning of the year will be over, and then those books will come out sometime at the end of winter or the early part of spring. It's very just cool. Me making comics and books. It's just stuff I like to do. And I did this podcast, a scripted podcast called Dreamnasium, which I'm just the executive producer on, but the stories are all based on my short stories. You can grab that off of Apple or Spotify or whatever. It's already made. We're doing our 2nd season right now, but the 1st season's up. It's all free. I don't make a dime. But if you want to check that out, I'd be happy because we could always use the clicks. And yeah, season 2 is underway.
And you're also doing Power Book 2 Ghosts?
Just finished that. I mean, the public hasn't, but I've just finished that. So Ghost was, I was a co-EP on Ghost. I had a great time on that show. I got to meet Method Man and Mary J. Blige. Oh my God, so insane. Like, what a crazy year it's been. A couple of years. Like,
Method Man is a big comics fan.
He is, and he was in the Marvel Voices book. He wrote a story in the Marvel Voices book. That guy is great, by the way. I did not know what to expect in terms of what he'd be like in real life, but he's great. Like he's a perfect gentleman, and like when he would come on the set, he came to play. He knew everybody's lines. He didn't bring any darkness or heaviness in with him, even if he was having a bad day. Like even as soon as it was like, okay, time to work, whatever he was dealing with was gone.
It's like very cool.
Gone. I was like, holy crap! I would use 100 of this guy. I would love 100 of this guy on every project because, oh my God,
professional.
He never complained. He never complained one time. Like, oh my, and he's a star. It's not like he's some rando. He's a giant star, right? He can literally walk off the set and go, you know what, I've had enough, and leave. And so what? Like, he's rich. He's a huge star.
Like, what are you gonna do, right?
What are you gonna do? Hurt me? What can you do? But it was nothing like that. It was just, you want everybody to be like, to have that. You want him to be like that. He was great.
I get surprised at all of these crossover writers and whatnot, or performers and whatnot, because like Marvel number 1000 had a 1-page Jessica Jones story, I think, written by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Kareem apparently wanted to be a writer all of his life. He's got a novel about freaking Sherlock. He's got Sherlock Holmes novels out.
He was on the Veronica Mars writing team.
Yeah, he's on the Veronica. Can you imagine coming to work and it's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
And he's coming to work on Veronica Mars.
That's what I'm saying. And it's on Veronica Mars. And he's not even a producer. He's just a regular old writer on staff. What the hell? What is that? I don't even know what that is, man.
Can you imagine sitting next to him at the writing table and like, hello, Kareem.
I would be freaking out. I would just be freaking out. I would just be, this is the thing. I can't, there's certain levels of star I can't work. I would just be like, you're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, aren't you? It's like, yes, Jeff. Just like the last 80 times you asked me, can we please work? But you're Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You really are, aren't you? Right? That would go on all day until they fired me. Like, this guy's not going to stop.
You know, you're one of the goats, right? What are you doing here?
Why are you even here? Why are you even here? Seriously, is this a joke? Am I being punked right now? I'm being punked. Your people are punking me.
What was it like working on Airplane?
Oh my God. Yeah. Wait. All right. I know nobody's ever asked you this before. Bruce Lee, what was he really like? Right? Like, Jeff, get out. Get out of the room right now. It's my show. You're fired. You're fired. Get out. No.
That's awesome.
Oh, man. No,
yeah.
It's weird. I think people, like I say, you do these things because you love them, right? It's really hard. It's hard work. And if the money is not an enticement, and sometimes it is, I suppose, although I try to limit the amount of, I try to limit the number of jobs I'll take where I'm just like, oh my God, I need the money. I'll do this. Like, I've been lucky enough not to have had to do that for quite some time now. I won't say I've never done it, but I haven't done it in many, 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 many years now. And the people you're working with, they generally want to be there. Like, they'll put up with a lot of crap that the money can't fix, you know, as long as the thing is good, or they think the thing is good, is a better way of saying it. And when you come down to comic books, it's just not a lot of money. You have to, like, I have to make, well, rephrase that. It depends on where you are. In Los Angeles, it's not a lot of money. In Indiana, not a bad living.
Oh, right? Yeah. So it depends on the cost of living.
Right. Yeah. In New York, not a lot of money. In San Francisco, not a lot of money. So if you live in the Midwest in some small town somewhere, or frankly in the Philippines.
Yeah, I think Lainel Yu has a regular page rate for somebody
Right.
of his caliber.
Right. But
he lives here, so.
Yeah, and I got a guy that worked with me on one of the Winterman books is in the Philippines, Mr. Morales. And I was amazed that I could afford him. He's an amazing artist. And he's like, no, this is my rate. And I was like, are you sure? Like, he's like, yeah, this is my rate. And I was like, okay, you should be working at Marvel. I don't know, you know, how I can afford you, but thank God I can, because you're drawing the hell out of this book. And, you know, but
because the Starbucks coffee here is $3.
That's
why.
Whatever, man. It's so messed up. This planet is so messed up. It should be uniform all over the world. All salaries should be roughly the same. Everything should be roughly the same.
I agree.
It's really bad.
Wherever I go, the first thing I do is I go into a Starbucks to see how much it costs. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be that kind of country.
Yeah, right. Jethro Morales, if you don't know his name. Jethro Morales. He's great.
Yeah, you have anything else you wanna say to the audience before?
You know, be nice to each other, stay safe, pay attention to the virus. It's real. I don't know who's listening who doesn't think so, but if you don't, it's real. Um,
Seriously.
take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and comics should be fun. Well, rephrase that. Superhero comics should be fun. Comics can be anything they want. But superhero comics should be fun. And I think that's my time.
Thank you, Mr. Geoff Thorne. This was
Thank
an
you
awesome
very much.
interview.
It was great. It was really just a great conversation.
Yeah, time just flew by.
I mean, like a lot more time than I thought. Oh my
Me
god!
too.
I'm in so much trouble. But yeah, please read the book. Future
I
State
will.
is going to be a lot of fun. Theoretically, that's why we're talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, please read Future State. All the books are going to be great. Everybody just put their guts into them, and they're not inconsequential. It's not like a one-off. Like they're not burning off the 5G stuff. That's a rumor I heard, and it's at least in my case, it's not true. These things are going to have some consequences, so pay attention.
Awesome. Thank you very much.